gonna start off by talking about the Tales of the Jedi comics. Now, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you have a passing knowledge of Star Wars. Like, at least you saw one of these movies on TV around Christmas one year. But even if you haven't, the setup's pretty basic. In case you're totally new to the franchise and don't know the nitty-gritty, I'll quickly lay it out for you. See, there are these stars here, and oh, would you look at that? There's also some wars. That's pretty much it. Oh, also, it's all about family. Please remember, it is all about family. This is very important. Ironically enough, despite the title referring to Jedi, most of these stories center around the Sith's origins. The Jedi are an order of wise, peaceful wizard monks that derive their power from this thing called the Force. It surrounds them, it penetrates them, a little invasive, but what are you gonna do? They need it because it gives them crazy cool abilities. They can move things with their minds, trick stupid dudes into believing whatever they want. They can jump real high, walk through walls, disappear, and fly. Jedi were much more unique than the other guy. The Sith are basically the Yang to the Jedi's Yin. They're an order of powerful Force users who believe in strength above all else. While the Jedi use the Force to help others and settle conflict and all that good stuff, the Sith use their abilities for more self-serving purposes. You know, like murder. And while it may sound like the two ideologies are totally black and white, trust me, they're not. Psst. Remember like less than a minute ago, when I said this wasn't that complicated? I totally lied. The Sith appear constantly throughout the expanded universe material, as well as the films. They're basically Star Wars' main villains, and Tales of the Jedi laid the foundation for all of their future appearances. When the series came out, it was incredibly popular. It was the Star Wars story to be reading at the time. This could be because it was one of, if not the only Star Wars comic you could be reading at the time. But hey, I mean, regardless, it was huge. And now, the art style was very different from what people associated with the brand at the time. While the galaxy in the movies felt very lived in and out of this world, the locations in this feel more medieval. If it weren't for all the UFOs and laser swords, you'd swear you were reading some shitty Lord of the Rings knockoff. The art quality fluctuates frequently throughout every issue, from okay to downright terrible. In case the art wasn't fantasy enough for you, the main characters of the series are named Nomi Sunrider and Ulic Qel-Droma. It's as if the author used one of those fantasy name generators and just picked the first two that were generated. It's not just their names that are crazy either, the characters themselves are pretty out there. This random chick is great at everything Jedi immediately, with little to no training. People complain about the new Star Wars lead being a Mary Sue, and yeah, she is. But man, Nomi Sunrider puts her to shame. Like, we got it good with Rey if you're comparing the two. Nomi can use battle meditation, an ability that is crazy OP, but the author will be damned if this chick don't got it. Granted, this is one of the first comics that power appears in, and the author basically invented it, and you could make this argument that it wasn't such a highly regarded feat at the time, but I don't like it. I don't like it. This chick just makes shit up, and she's super powerful, and she doesn't earn it, and she carries her baby wherever she goes. She has a baby. Like, you're in a fucking war, lady. Put that shit away. You can't be breastfeed on the battlefield. There's a time and a place, dog. This series reads like a really bad soap opera at times. It's corny with weak dialogue and a pretty meh story. The main narrative of the story follows Ulic as he slowly progresses to the dark side, but not before going on multiple adventures trying to defeat that very thing. Now, when I say he progresses to the dark side slowly, what I mean is immediately. He goes through a bunch of books totally fine, super good, just the greatest Jedi you'll ever meet, until he meets this crazy hot dark side broad. They bang, and he turns evil off screen. Like he just switches sides, like something turned inside of him when he turned up inside that lady. And he's totally a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite, Ulic. You were supposed to be spying on those cultists, not doing them. And what about Nomi? You guys were in love, remember? Because I don't. That plot point kind of came out of nowhere. But still, you were in love, maybe. Is it because Nomi's hair's weird? Never mind, her hair is weird. I don't blame you. Just to give you a feel of what the comic was like, I'ma quickly go through my fave story from the Star Wars tales. It's about the Sith, and how they were introduced to the galaxy at large. Our story starts off with this terrifying looking Jedi. He loves to study, but hates to really do anything else. His master, a crystal brain named Uru, wants his apprentice to go out and make history, not just study it. These guys are boring. We're done talking about them forever. The real stars of this story are siblings Gavin and Jory. Their parents die a couple of pages after being introduced, leaving Gav and Jory orphaned. Still needing to pay the bills, the two of them make the logical financial decision to become space explorers. Shockingly, this doesn't work out for them, and they fall into massive debt after making their Hutt godfather impound their ship. Okay, so there's something I want you to remember. This sweetie of a slug has extended their credit multiple times already. They keep messing up, and he keeps bailing them out. Keep this in mind, because it's going to come up again later. It's super important, okay? The two siblings are actually so bad at their job, they manage to piss off a crime lord, and he sends assassins to aid them towards an early retirement. Forced to flee due to their idiocy, Bro and Sis steal their ship back from the Kind Hut and hightail it back in unknown space. Are you invested in their characters yet? Are you hoping they make it out okay? I know you don't, but don't worry, they get douchier. Across the galaxy, the Sith are holding a big ol' funeral for their fallen leader. During said funeral, a battle erupts between two enemy Sith, Naga Sadow and Ludo Kresh. These red boys have been chasing the title of Dark Lord of the Sith for a long time, and since the old Dark Lord has kicked the bucket, it's the moment of truth for them. Time to brawl it out to see who gets to lead. Unfortunately for them, the deceased Dark Dude himself returns from the grave to remind them of their proud Sith heritage, and also to bitch them out for fighting on his special day. You only get to die once, guys, come on. It's important to know that at this point in Star Wars history, the Sith have never made contact with a civilized galaxy. Jedi had this great big schism, and some of the guys that wanted to use the dark side were excommunicated from the Order, and they wound up finding this species of red guys called the Sith. And then the Sith became their whole Order's name because it wasn't complicated enough. Anyway, what I'm telling you is that these bad guys were just off doing their own thing. They weren't causing any trouble. The galaxy was safe. I bring it up because these two characters we're supposed to be rooting for that have ripped off their godfather and pissed off a crime lord and done nothing helpful are about to ruin the entire galaxy for everyone forever. They're the two rats that carry the bubonic plague into Europe. They are the worst. Just as the tension is starting to calm down between the two Sith Lords, the twins crash smack dab in the middle of the proceedings and are promptly captured and thrown into prison. Truly, these are great heroes. In a play for power, Naga Sadow breaks them out and takes them into his own custody. He also stages the prison break to make it look like it was more outsiders that broke the kids free. That way, it looks like those who were involved with the mysterious prisoners were planning an attack on Sith base. Because Naga Sadow wants to go out there and conquer a bunch of shit. But he can't do it because all these pussies just want to hang around and rule over their own stuff. He ain't having that. Sadow's got shit to do. With surprising ease, he manipulates the Sith ruling council into making him Dark Lord of them all, so that they may face this new threat under his strong leadership. Ludo Kresh is pushed out of power and is basically out of the story, only to be killed. Twice. To invade Republic territory and expand his new Sith empire, Sadow separates the siblings to bend them to his will. He teaches Gav how to use the Force, and he shows Jory how to be patient, I think. He doesn't really show her anything. There's no reason for this. She just sits in a cell and waits all day long for word from her brother. They both want to see each other again, but Sadow, being the devilishly handsome devil he is, charms them both into chilling out and going with the flow while he does his own thing. After an indeterminate amount of time, Naga frees Jory so that he can follow her back home to conquer Republic space. As soon as she arrives back, she's arrested for stealing Papa Hutt's ship. She's then mocked by authorities when trying to warn them about the Sith threat coming in, and Papa Hutt's ship is given to the gangster that tried to kill her earlier. And just to add insult to injury, Slug Daddy himself shows up to disown her. It's phenomenal. Back in Sith space, Sadow tricks Gav into killing a bunch of people. This makes Gav lose his trust in Sadow. This happens because the story needs to move forward, and it's pretty clear the author doesn't know what to do. He's losing steam, let's move on. Gav is kind of mopey for a minute, but goes right back to following Sadow. Weirdly enough, Gav seems totally fine with Sadow invading his home. He has no reservations about it. I mean, he kinda does, but it's just about his sister. Gav just goes along with it for no reason. You're a dick, Gav. Jory has been sent to a work camp on some desolate alien world as punishment for her crimes, but manages to escape by attacking a guard concerned for her well-being. I swear, no matter what situation they put these two in, they come off as complete assholes. She then breaks into a warrior queen's palace to tell her about the Sith attack. Finally, she's successful and the Sith arrive soon after. Gav lands with a group of troops under his command and goes in search for his sister. Hilarity ensues when he runs into his hot father and accidentally has him murdered, like you do. His last words were "crush you," by the way, in case anybody was wondering. Then his sister shows up, Gav's, not the Hutt's, to find her parental figure murdered at Gav's feet. Jory, who has been terrified about her brother's well-being this entire time, tells Gav that he's not her brother anymore, and warns him she won't hesitate to kill him. And then, not 2 seconds later, is yelling at him to please talk to her. Like, what is she supposed to be feeling? Gav then betrays Sadow by attacking his ship. Huh, maybe you shouldn't have given this rando so much control of your army, eh, Sadow? Maybe that was a stupid idea. Desperate to stop Gav from destroying his totally defenseless sphere ship, Naga tries to convince him to come aboard and talk, because that sounds totally reasonable. And Gav comes aboard, only to get double-crossed. Like, no kidding! Gav manages to distract the Sith Lord long enough to turn the tide of battle. With their enemy defeated, the Jedi proclaim that the Republic shall never fall. Story wraps up with Gav dying a useless death, feminism getting a big win, and then Naga Sadow goes to hide in the woods. The same woods from that one movie you like. You remember, that movie with the woods. Ah, you remember. But whatever happened to Jory? Well, when the battle was over, she decides to take over the Hutt's business, believing it to be what he would have wanted. You know, even though he disowned you both, and he never told you he wanted you to have it, he never even forgave you for any of the stuff you did. In fact, you both got him murdered. Fuck you! Fuck you both! Oh, and also Uru died. The run's initial ending was pretty dark, and had some neat imagery, and the conclusion they gave Uluk about a year after the comic's initial release was grounded, and a really nice ending to the series as a whole. If I had to compare the series' writing style to anything, it would be the old Spider-Man comics from the 60s. If after everything I've had to say about this series you still want to check it out, I suggest listening to the audio dramas instead of reading the comics.
What do you have to say for yourself, man? Speak up! Has a neck got your tongue?
Don't pick on old Chorus, Uncle. He has something to show you.
Yes, go ahead, Chorus. Show Father what Alima did to your...
By the Empress Teta, his tongue. What is
It's
that?
disgusting!
Your fat, two-faced tutor has always been your spy, Father.
Yes, we've always thought old Chorus had a snake's tongue, so I turned his tongue into a snake.
Chorus! Chorus! Alima! What is this? Some sort of disgusting joke?
It's nothing, Uncle, really. Chorus just has a little indigestion.
Maybe it was the Adegan eels he had for lunch.
Well, now it looks like they're having him.
They're horribly campy and cheesy, but if you can find them on eBay or YouTube, check them out. Love them or hate them, these comics made a huge impact on the expanded universe. They inspired many future EU authors, and as such, you can see a ton of elements that were introduced in this story reappear within other narratives. These books were trailblazers. I mean, you can't take away the fact that these were the first things to have a double-bladed lightsaber in them. Even before the movies, they had it right there. They were ahead of the time, I guess. Maybe they're ahead of my time, maybe I just don't get them. Probably not, they probably suck, but still. It's cool. Double-bladed lightsaber. That was neat. Interestingly enough, the series' original title wasn't Tales of the Jedi. The comic's first name would be borrowed for a new project the game-developing expansion of Lucasfilm was developing. Knights of the Old Republic.
I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
And
sell
you
them
sold
off.
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and
Okay, what?